Now, the fast cars, the beautiful women, the exotic locations, a creepy villain, they can only mean one thing, yes. The publicity juggernaut that is the James Bond franchise is back. The release of the 24th 007 film on Monday probably won't have escaped your notice. And for some viewers, the media onslaught has raised the spectre of promotion masquerading as news. On Thursday, the imminent release of Spectre featured on all the national news bulletins, prominently on the news channel, Breakfast, Radio 4's Today programme and many other BBC outlets.
Now, 6 decades and 23 films later, Bond is back.
And one of Britain's biggest exports is about to do it again. The latest Bond movie is poised for global success.
And does 007 still have a licence to thrill? We'll be looking at the early reviews of the latest Bond film, Spectre.
Daniel Craig talks to us about what could be his final film as 007.
Among those of you shaken by all this and stirred to contact us was Tony Conboy, who emailed. When did a new James Bond film become a headline news item? Not at the end of the programme and finally, but at the beginning, within the headlines. BBC News is now like, let's get this new stuff out of the way quick and get to the celebrity, showbiz, who won best cake, real news. I know my comment will not make any difference to the dumbing down of the BBC, but I feel better for saying it.
Nadia!
Ah yes, cakes. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago the inclusion on the news of the Great British Bake Off final, but this week has provided several other examples of entertainment featuring on the news. On Friday, Susan McGee spotted coverage of the new record by Adele. Please tell me your reasoning as to the blatant promotion of entertainment. The attention paid to Adele on the news channel followed hot on the heels of Wednesday's celebration of a key date in one of the Back to the Future films, which Sam Weller contrasted with another real anniversary that day. Interesting to note your extensive coverage of Back to the Future Day, but no coverage of Trafalgar Day. BBC priorities. Mildly entertaining 1980s American film franchise equals very important. Historic battle that helped save Britain from French tyranny equals not worth a mention. The same day, Anne Bayliss spotted another showbiz story and asked, why is the cancelling of a One Direction concert making news bulletins on TV and radio? Get real, BBC. Is this really news? And on Sunday, John Marsh, describing himself as a very disappointed viewer, objected to news coverage of Strictly Come Dancing, emailing, I was very disappointed that the BBC considered that a contestant on Strictly was newsworthy. Is there not enough news? Well, a clear message there from some viewers, and to respond to them, I'm joined now by Toby Castle, who's Deputy News Editor for BBC News. If I had £1, Toby, for every time I saw a headline over the last few years saying Bond is back, I would be a very, very rich woman. What is the possible justification of running any kind of story about a new Bond film?
Well, I think just firstly, can I just very quickly say about, you know, the headline point. You know, the headlines are there as part of a news programme to set out a menu of what we have to offer for our audiences. And therefore, the fact that Bond is featured in a headline sequence, you know, is part of a programme of news. And I think it does have a place in our output. I mean, Bond is, as you said in the introduction, a juggernaut. It is a business success story for Britain. You know, culturally, this is an export for Britain. I think the last Bond film, Skyfall, took $1 billion globally. It is, I think, the highest watched British film ever. So I think there is a news value in judging whether it is going to be a success. There's quite a lot riding on it for the British film industry.
You know, everything you've just said is exactly what they said about the last Bond film and probably the couple before that. The question for viewers is whether it's all just tipping over into promotion for a film franchise that is all about the publicity and the anticipation.
I think, you know, our audiences deserve to have coverage of all of the country's news, national, international. I think entertainment news has a place in our bulletins. It offers some light, perhaps, from some of the dark, you know, some of the hard news at perhaps the top end of the programme, and that, you know, our audiences, you know, can judge that there is a place for these stories on the programme. You know, Bond is part, I think, of a national conversation at the moment, and the BBC and BBC News, I believe, needs to be part of that national conversation. People are talking about it. What we're able to do on our news bulletins is give it that context. You know, our entertainment journalists are that. They are journalists. And I think that the coverage that we've given
Was
to
there
this,
any context, really, to seeing Daniel Craig sit down and say it's a classy product?
he has brought an enormous amount of success to the Bond franchise as the new, you know, the new Bond. There is a big question mark over whether he might be in the next Bond. So there's a question of if he doesn't continue, therefore, you know, where does it leave, you know, our film industry, you know, the success of Pinewood Studios, for example, those things, which I think are both, you know, has been reflected on our act.
With the other stuff as well, like Bake Off and Strictly, viewers feel that BBC reality shows, showbiz, are getting a lot more news coverage, and it's certainly cheap and easy, isn't it?
I'd reject that, to be honest. I think that you look at Bake Off, you know, this year's series, it was fascinating to see how the country took Nadia to their heart. You know, I think that if that had been a programme on ITV, I think BBC News bulletins would have covered it.
I think in the end what Newswatch viewers might say is, would the BBC go and consider, maybe just think a bit more carefully sometimes about which showbiz stories get chosen and what precedence they take?
I think every time we sit down and we discuss in editorial meetings about which editorial, you know, which entertainment stories cross the editorial bar, those are conversations that we are having. You know, there has to be a clear news, you know, peg, as it were. We need to be able to say there is a news value, and I think, you know, I'm pretty confident that I could, you know, confidently justify most of the decisions that you've given here, and I can assure you know, the viewers that those considerations are discussed you know, often.
Toby Castle, thank you so much. And that's all from us. Thanks for all your comments this week. If you want to share your opinions on